The moment Earth's envoy stood before the shimmering halls of the Galactic Council, no one knew how badly our world was misjudged. A single verdict echoed through every system: humanity was exiled. Our planet cast out, stripped of voting rights, stripped of dignity. But exile did not break us. If anything, it ignited our resolve. From that final blow came a decision. Earth would not just build a fleet, it would forge an empire. I'm not here to tell you about advanced technology or alien politics right away. I'm telling you about people. Scientists keeping midnight lights on, working on engines that hum with human ingenuity. Pilots training in zero-gravity simulation rooms, dreaming of the day they pilot starships not just for defense, but to reach the stars. Politicians meeting in secret across continents to form unity governments. Ordinary citizens waking up and realizing they belonged not to some powerless planet, but to the seed of something far greater. That is the heartbeat behind the story: humanity transforming from exiles into empire builders. Imagine the despair when council envoys gave their ruling. Imagine seeing the council's grand flotilla turn away, leaving us isolated. That's the moment our tone shifts, from despair to rising fury, from powerless to unstoppable. Because Earth didn't accept the exile, we responded. Quietly at first, research teams accelerating, secret shipyards launching prototypes, whispers of council defiance spreading in university halls and across the internet. Then openly, Earth's leaders announcing the creation of the Terran Initiative, the official face of our strategy to rise again. Central to this story are three voices. First, Commander Amina Zara, a former council liaison whose voice cracked when she delivered the exile verdict in person. Now she's Earth's fleet commander, fierce and unwavering, determined to prove the council wrong. Then Dr. Raj Patel, chief engineer, who once helped draft the appeal that was ignored. Now he leads the real work: engines, weapons, infrastructure, because he's determined that nothing the Lost Council asked for will ever again deny us justice. Finally, Leah Chen, a young journalist who refused to let the exile narrative vanish. Leah's broadcasts went viral, galvanizing a population into fierce pride as Earth set out to build not just ships, but an empire. These characters guide us through the emotional core. We feel the sting of betrayal, the pain of being cast aside. But we also feel excitement as shipyards rise, as the first fleet training exercises launch, as alliances form with independent human colonies on Mars and Titan. Underlying all that is the HFY spirit. Humans seen as underdogs by older races, underestimated until we reveal our resilience, our creativity, and, yes, our stubborn grit. There's tension everywhere. Will the council send inspectors to audit our technology? Could someone within our ranks betray us to alien powers who want Earth to remain weak? What about resources? Earth doesn't have endless supplies. We have to stretch every scrap of ore, every drop of rare gas. Each starship powered by human ingenuity and sacrifice. So the intro carries us from that moment of exile to the first steps toward empire. We see how Earth unites. We hear about the first test flight through asteroid belts, the first light years covered by an Earth ship under human flag. We glimpse glimpses of diplomatic overtures to sympathetic alien enclaves, those older powers who recognized Earth's potential and offered quiet help. The Council may have expected us to fade away. Instead, we're rising. I want viewers to sense the shift in tone, from frustration and outrage to determination and pride. They feel suspense in every imperfect ship launch, in every training mission that might fail. They're invested in Amina, Raj, Leah, not because they're superhumans, but because they're human, driven by anger, guilt, hope, purpose. Listeners lean in when Leah's broadcast declares, "For too long we begged forgiveness. Now we demand recognition as equals or more." By the end of this introduction, they must feel Earth won't just build a fleet, we will build an empire. Yet the final lines leave questions hanging. The Council's secret weapon rumored in distant systems, the stirrings of a rebel faction on Luna, the flaw in our reactor core that engineers haven't solved, each word laced with tension. As the video fades out, Amina's voice is counted down. Commander Zara here, Fleet Operation Rising Sun begins in T-minus 48 hours. All units report readiness. And then silence. Because the first fleet sortie might succeed spectacularly, or might draw the Council's fire sooner than we're ready. Will we survive their retaliation, or will humanity's bold answer finally earn us our place? That cliffhanger, the uncertainty of whether the Council reacts, whether our fleet holds, whether the Empire begins or crashes, will pull viewers into Part 2. They've heard the hook. Earth was exiled, and now Earth builds not just a fleet, but an empire of its own. They know the themes: humanity rising, HFY spirit, underdogs becoming masters of destiny. And they're left waiting, heart-pounding, to see if we can deliver on that empire, or if something stumbles and everything collapses. This introduction is meant to feel simple, human, natural, like someone leaning in and telling you a story late at night, voice rising with excitement, sometimes quiet with tension. It avoids heady exposition, instead giving emotional beats. It includes your title key words naturally: exiled from the Council, Earth builds a fleet, Empire, HFY, sci-fi. It sets the tone, urgent, defiant, suspenseful, and it ends on unresolved tension. The countdown to Fleet Operation Rising Sun echoed through every command center across Earth and its colonies, but the world outside those walls was far from calm. The exile still haunted humanity like an open wound. Families who once celebrated Earth's acceptance into the Galactic Council now spoke of betrayal in hushed, bitter tones. Children asked why alien ships no longer visited the skies above the orbital ports. The Council had not only stripped us of membership, they erased Earth from the interstellar maps distributed across their networks, as if humanity were a mistake to be forgotten. Yet in the shadows of that humiliation, the seeds of something greater had taken root. The construction of the Terran fleet was no longer just a project, it had become a symbol. Across the steel bones of orbital shipyards, welders worked in silence except for the hum of their torches, knowing that every plate they secured would carry human defiance into the stars. Cargo haulers moved day and night, ferrying metals from Luna and fuel from Titan's refineries. Their pilots trading jokes over comms to drown out the pressure of what they were building. This wasn't just a fleet. This was our proof that exile was not an end. It was the beginning. Commander Amina Zara walked the length of the Titan shipyard's main deck, her boots striking metal with sharp precision. She had served under the Council once, wearing their uniform, following their orders. Now she wore Earth's deep blue with the silver insignia of the Terran fleet stitched at her collar. The workers who passed her paused only for a moment, nodding respectfully before returning to their stations. They knew her story. She had been there the day Earth was voted out. She had watched the Council delegates look away, as if humanity wasn't worth the argument. That memory sharpened her every command. Dr. Raj Patel stood at the heart of the shipyard's engineering bay, sleeves rolled up, hands blackened by graphite and alloy dust. He had once dreamed of working alongside alien engineers, sharing ideas, and unlocking the secrets of the galaxy. Instead, he had been locked out of every archive, every research hub controlled by the Council. So he built from what we had. And in doing so, he discovered something remarkable. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't access to alien technology. It was the ability to adapt. We didn't copy theirs. Designs. We made our own. Faster, leaner, more aggressive. Raj studied the prototype reactor humming before him. It was a risk, an experimental drive that pushed the limits of known physics. But Earth didn't have the luxury of caution anymore. "If this fails," he muttered under his breath, "it fails spectacularly." Then he glanced at the console, where readings danced in green, and allowed himself the smallest of smiles. For now, it held. Meanwhile, Leah Chen's voice cut through every channel. Her broadcasts had become the unofficial anthem of Earth's defiance. From her small studio orbiting above Mars, she told stories of the first pilots who volunteered, of the shipyard crews who worked without sleep, of a planet that refused to be erased. Every word was soaked in raw determination, and every transmission carried the same sign-off. We are still here, and they will remember us. But even as humanity rallied, there were whispers. The Council wasn't blind. They knew what we were doing, even if they refused to acknowledge us. Spies had been caught in the Luna shipyards, their alien features hidden under elaborate disguises. A freighter carrying rare metals was intercepted near the asteroid belt by unidentified ships with Council-grade weaponry, though no one dared officially claim responsibility. The message was clear. They were watching. Commander Zara knew it better than anyone. She stared at the star map in her command chamber late into the night, the room lit only by the glow of navigation charts. Every route out of the Sol system was marked, every trade lane patrolled. But there, at the edge of the map, beyond the reach of Council fleets, was the frontier. It was lawless, unclaimed space. If Earth was to survive, it would be there, in the places the Council ignored, the places where no one asked permission. Yet danger wasn't only beyond the stars. Within Earth's own walls, political fractures deepened. Some argued that provoking the Council was reckless, that humanity's survival depended on returning to the table and begging for forgiveness. Others, fueled by anger, demanded faster militarization, calling for weapons powerful enough to burn Council fleets from the sky. Amina didn't speak in those debates. She didn't have to. Her fleet was her answer. The first ships of the Terran fleet were unlike anything the Council had ever approved. They weren't elegant, they weren't built to impress. They were sharp, angular, designed for speed and firepower. They were born from the hands of engineers who had nothing left to lose and everything to prove. The flagship, Resolute Dawn, sat in the dock like a predator waiting for the first hunt. Its armor gleamed under the lights of the shipyard, and its engines, Raj's engines, hummed with restrained power. As the final inspections were carried out, Leah's latest broadcast crackled through the fleet's comms. "To those who told us we were too young to stand among the stars," she said, her voice steady and fierce, "watch us. To those who erased our name from their records, remember it well. Humanity does not vanish. We rise." Across the shipyards, crews stopped just long enough to listen. Even Amina, hardened by years of betrayal, allowed herself the briefest nod. But deep in the data archives of Earth's defense network, Raj stumbled upon something unexpected. An encrypted file buried in what was left of the Council's shared database, a file that shouldn't have been there. When he decrypted it, what he saw wasn't a threat assessment or political memo. It was a warning. A quiet, chilling message from an anonymous source. They exiled you not for what you are, but for what you will become. Do not trust their silence. Raj stared at the words, the hum of the reactor behind him suddenly louder in his ears. He forwarded it to Amina without a word. Minutes later, she stood in his lab, eyes fixed on the screen. "Who sent this?" she asked. "I don't know," Raj admitted. "But if it's true—" "Then the Council didn't just fear us," Amina said quietly. "They're preparing for us." And for the first time since Exile, the silence between them felt heavier than any Council decree. Because if that warning was real, humanity wasn't just building a fleet to survive. We were building an empire for a future the galaxy already feared. And somewhere, out in the darkness between the stars, something was waiting. Amina turned back to Raj. "Ready the fleet," she said. "We launch in 48 hours. Whatever's coming, we'll meet it head-on." The hum of the engines deepened, as if the ships themselves were listening. And far beyond the Sol system, unseen by human eyes, a shadow moved. The fleet hung in the blackness of space like a clenched fist. From the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Commander Amina Zara watched the stars stretch endlessly, each one a reminder of how far humanity still had to go. 48 hours had passed since launch, and already the weight of command pressed down on her shoulders. She had led soldiers before, but this was different. This wasn't just a mission. This was Earth's first step into a future that could either crown them with triumph or crush them completely. "Status report," she said, her voice steady, sharp. "All ships maintaining formation," came the reply from her second officer, Lieutenant Rourke. "Engines stable, weapons on standby. No sign of Council patrols within our sector." No sign yet. That was the part no one said aloud. In the engineering decks, Dr. Raj Patel didn't hear the silence of space. He heard the heartbeat of the fleet in every vibration of the experimental reactors. He stood at a console surrounded by his team, eyes fixed on the fluctuating readings. "The core's running hotter than I'd like," one of his assistants muttered. Raj didn't look up. "It'll hold. It has to." He didn't add what he was thinking. If it didn't, the Resolute Dawn wouldn't just fail. It would be the end of the fleet's first campaign before it even began. He had spent months perfecting this drive, rewriting physics that the Council claimed could never be touched. But there was no turning back, not after Exile, not after the message that still haunted him. They exiled you not for what you are, but for what you will become. While Raj fought with equations and metal, Leah Chen was fighting a different war. Her voice carried across every ship, her broadcasts keeping morale alive. But even as she spoke words of hope, she was digging. Laid into the artificial night, she searched through intercepted transmissions, fragments of Council chatter that should have been routine but weren't. There was a pattern. Ships disappearing on the edge of Council space, colonies vanishing without a trace, and no one speaking of it. And every time she followed the trail, the same term came up, hidden in coded reports: the Horizon Event. She brought it to Amina, dropping a stack of decrypted files onto the captain's desk. "This isn't just us," Leah said, her voice sharp, her eyes restless from lack of sleep. "They didn't exile us just to keep us out of their politics. They're hiding something big enough to erase entire colonies." Amina scanned the reports, jaw tightening. "If this is true," she said, "then either the Council is lying to their own people, or what's coming is worse than we think," Leah finished. The conflict deepened. It wasn't only Earth versus the Council anymore. Now there was a shadow no one could name. And if Leah was right, the Council's silence wasn't just arrogance, it was fear. Meanwhile, in the fleet's lower decks, among the enlisted ranks, tension was boiling in its own way. Rumors spread fast in the confined corridors of steel. Some said the Council would ambush them the second they crossed into contested space. Others whispered about the encrypted warning that had leaked through unofficial channels. And a few believed that humanity wasn't building an empire to survive the Council. They were building it to fight something far worse. One of those voices belonged to Sergeant Ilya Grant, a grizzled,
"Because they're calm. It's because they're terrified." On the bridge, Amina stared out at the darkness. They were on course for the frontier, to a sector unclaimed by any government, a place where Earth could establish its first outpost away from Council reach. But she couldn't shake the unease clawing at the back of her mind. The Council hadn't moved against them yet. No protests, no fleets, no threats. It was too quiet. Raj appeared on the bridge, fatigue written in every line of his face. "Engine's stable for now," he said, "but we're running close to tolerance levels. We'll need a refit before long." Amina gave him a short nod. "You'll get your refit after we plant our flag. Until then, hold her together." Raj smirked faintly. "She's holding. Question is, will we?" Before she could answer, an alert cut through the bridge. A contact, unidentified, not on any chart. The crew tensed as the tactical officer brought the image up on the display. It wasn't a council ship. Its design was unlike anything in their database. No registry, no signature, no transponder codes. Just a black, jagged silhouette against the stars, drifting silently, its surface scarred as if it had been through 1,000 battles. Leah's voice came through over comms. "Tell me that's one of ours." "It's not," Amina said flatly. The fleet slowed, weapons brought online. For a long moment, the strange vessel didn't move. It simply floated, dead in space, as if waiting. And then, without warning, a single transmission cut through every channel in a language no one recognized. The sound was low, distorted, almost human, but not quite. Raj's eyes locked on the signal readout. That's not council tech." Amina stared at the ghostly ship on the screen. "No," she said quietly. "It's something else." And for the first time since Exile, even she felt it, the cold edge of fear creeping in. Because maybe the Council hadn't exiled humanity to punish us. Maybe they had exiled us to keep us far away from this. "Bring us closer," Amina ordered, her voice steady despite the tension coiling in the air. "If there's something out there the Council's afraid of, we're going to see it for ourselves." The fleet moved, engines burning bright against the black. And in the silence of the void, the alien ship waited, as if it already knew they were coming. The alien ship loomed larger on the main screen, its jagged hull absorbing what little light the distant stars offered. The Terran fleet drifted closer, each ship holding formation with the precision of a blade drawn from its sheath. No one spoke on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn. Even the hum of the engines seemed quieter, as if the fleet itself was holding its breath. Commander Amina Zara stood at the center of the bridge, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. "Range?" she asked. 10,000 kilometers and closing," Lieutenant Rourke replied. "No response to hails, no power signatures except—" he hesitated. "Except something faint. Could be residual." Dr. Raj Patel leaned forward, studying the readings. "That ship's not dead," he murmured. "If it was, we wouldn't be getting anything at all. Something's running in there. Low power, buried deep. It's hiding itself." The words settled over the crew like a shadow. Leah Chen's voice came through the comms from the media deck. "I'm getting fragments on the signal," she said, her tone sharp with urgency. "It's not just noise. It's layered, like it's repeating a pattern." "Translate it," Amina ordered. "I'm trying," Leah replied, "but it's not any language in the Council database, not even the restricted ones." Amina's gaze never left the ghostly ship. If the Council didn't want us to see this, then we're looking at exactly what they're afraid of. The fleet crept closer. The alien vessel dwarfed even the Resolute Dawn. Its hull was scarred, pitted, and torn in places, but it still radiated something unmistakable, a presence. It was old, older than any recorded starship in Council archives. Then, without warning, the alien ship's hull shifted. At first, it was subtle, panels folding and sliding open as if the ship were breathing. Then a dull glow emerged from deep within its core, bleeding outward like the embers of a dying fire. Raj's hands tightened on the console. "That's not damage, that's intentional." The glow brightened, and the strange transmission grew louder, almost rhythmic now, as if something aboard the ship was waking up. Amina didn't flinch. "Arm all weapons," she said, "but hold fire until I give the order."
The crew scrambled to obey, tension mounting with every passing second. The fleet's weapon systems came online, the quiet hum of charging reactors filling the air. "Commander," Rourke said, his voice tight, "we've got movement." The alien ship shifted again. Small, angular objects detached from its hull, dozens of them, drifting like fragments breaking off a shattered world. But as the fleet's sensors locked onto them, one fact became clear. "They're powered," Raj said, his voice low. "Those aren't fragments, those are drones." The bridge fell silent. In the mess halls, in the engineering bays, in every corner of the fleet, the same thought was spreading like wildfire. The Council hadn't exiled humanity because they feared what we might do. They had exiled us because of what waited for us beyond their borders. The drones began to move. "Multiple contacts inbound," Rourke snapped. "They're fast, faster than our interceptors." Amina's jaw tightened. "Shields up, lock weapons, do not fire until they fire first." The alien drones streaked toward the fleet, their movements sharp and unnatural, like predators circling prey. Leah's voice cut back in, strained but unbroken. "The transmission's changing. It's almost like a warning." Raj turned toward her feed. "A warning from who?" She didn't answer. The drones closed in, the fleet's gun crews tracking them, fingers tense on their triggers. For a breathless moment, the void was silent. No weapons fire, no comm chatter, just two forces staring each other down in the infinite black. Then the first drone blinked with light. "Here it comes," Rourke whispered. But the drones didn't fire. Instead, they shifted formation, circling the alien ship. The fleet's sensors picked up a new surge of energy deep within the vessel's core, so powerful it rippled through space like a shock wave. Raj's eyes widened. "That's not a ship," he said. It's a gate." Every head on the bridge turned. "A gate to what?" Amina asked. Before Raj could answer, space itself seemed to twist. From the center of the alien ship, light erupted. Not an explosion, not a weapon, but a rift, vast and blinding. Shapes moved in the light, huge and indistinct, like shadows of something vast just beyond reality's edge. Leah's voice broke through, trembling for the first time. "Commander, I think this is the Horizon event." The words froze the air. Amina's fists clenched. She didn't know what lay beyond that rift, but every instinct screamed that crossing it would change everything. Earth's exile, the Council's silence, the mysterious warning, they all pointed here. "Commander," Raj said softly, "if we stay, we might not survive this." "And if we run?" Amina asked. He didn't answer. The drones shifted again, their sharp movements now angled outward, like guards daring anyone to come closer. The rift pulsed once more, spilling light across the void. Amina stared at it, jaw set. Humanity had been cast out, pushed to the edge of the galaxy. Now, on the brink of the unknown, the choice was hers to make. "Hold position," she ordered, her voice steady. And in the silence that followed, the rift widened. The rift widened until it looked like it could swallow entire fleets whole. The light spilling from it rippled across the Resolute Dawn's hull, casting long, sharp shadows across the bridge. No one spoke. Every crew member felt it, the gravity of standing on the edge of something vast and dangerous, something the Council had gone to extraordinary lengths to hide. Then, suddenly, the alien drones stopped. Their movement
Froze, their lights dimmed, and for one terrible moment, everything went still. "Commander," Rourke said quietly, "they're holding a position. It's like they're waiting." Raj's hands trembled as he scanned the data. That rift isn't just an energy phenomenon. There's structure inside it, something massive. No natural event would look like this. Amina stared at the swirling light. "Are you saying there's something built in there?" Raj nodded slowly, his voice low, almost disbelieving. Someone made this, and if I'm reading this right, it's not abandoned. Before anyone could respond, the rift pulsed again, this time with a sound. It wasn't noise exactly, it was pressure, a deep vibration that ran through the hull and into their bones. Consoles flickered, lights dimmed. Every sensor in the fleet went haywire for a split second before stabilizing again. And then came the second signal. Leah's voice cut in from the comms desk, her tone sharp with urgency. "Commander, I've isolated a second transmission. It's not from the alien ship. It's coming from inside the rift." Amina turned sharply. "From inside?" "Yes," Leah said, "and it's not alien. It's human." The words slammed into the bridge like a shockwave. Raj spun toward her feed. "That's impossible. No human ship has ever been past Council space, let alone—" "I know what I'm hearing," Leah interrupted. "It's faint, but it's there. A distress beacon, coded in old Earth military encryption. Someone is in there." For the first time, silence gripped the bridge, not from fear of the unknown, but from the terrifying possibility of the familiar. Amina's mind raced. If there really was a human signal coming from inside that rift, then everything they thought they knew was wrong. The Council hadn't exiled them to keep them from starting a war. They had exiled them to keep them away from this. "Commander," Rourke said hesitantly, "if this is true, what if the Council didn't abandon us out of fear of what we'd do, but fear of what we'd find?" The words burned in Amina's chest like a spark catching flame. Raj looked back at his screens, his voice tight. "If that's a Terran distress signal, it's been transmitting for years, maybe decades. It's old. Too old." "Or," Leah added, her voice low, "it was never meant for the Council to hear. Only us." Outside, the rift pulsed again, the drones rearranging themselves into a new pattern, almost like they were opening a path. Amina stood at the center of the bridge, the weight of the choice pressing on her. The rift, the hidden human signal, the Council's exile, all of it was connected. And if they turned back now, they'd never know the truth. But before she could speak, an alert blared. "Multiple contacts," Rourke shouted. "Council ships dropping out of FTL. They've found us." The screen lit up with signatures, dozens of them, sleek and armed, cutting through space like knives. Raj swore under his breath. They weren't watching us. They were waiting for us to find this place. The comms crackled to life, and a cold, familiar voice spoke. "Terran fleet, you are ordered to withdraw immediately. This is restricted space. Comply or be destroyed." Amina didn't move. Her eyes stayed locked on the rift, on the faint human signal still whispering from within. The Council wasn't here to stop them. They were here to bury whatever was on the other side. "Commander," Leah said quietly, "if we turn back now, we'll never get another chance." The Council ships began to fan out, weapons charging. The alien drones shifted in response, their formation bristling with silent threat. Two enemies, one unknown, and in the middle, humanity stood alone. Amina drew in a slow breath, her voice steady when she finally spoke. "All ships, hold position. Do not fire unless I give the order." The tension was unbearable, every second stretching longer than the last. The rift's light burned brighter, the human signal grew louder, and the Council fleet inched closer. And for the first time since their exile, humanity stood on the brink of not just defiance, but revelation. Somewhere inside that rift was the truth, and Amina intended to tear it out of the dark. The rift roared like a silent storm, its light spilling across the fleet and reflecting in the steel of every Terran ship. Commander Amina Zara stood motionless on the bridge, her gaze locked on that impossible tear in space. On one side, the Council's fleet edged closer, weapons primed, their warnings echoing cold and hollow through the comms. On the other side, the alien drones hovered like sentinels, guarding the rift. And from within, that faint human signal pulsed, steady and defiant, as if calling only to them. "Commander," Raj said, his voice sharp with urgency, "if we stay here any longer, they'll open fire. We can't fight both the Council and those drones." Amina didn't answer. Her mind was a storm of choices, but the signal was everything. It was the proof that humanity's exile wasn't punishment. It was fear, fear of this place, fear of what lay beyond. Leah's voice crackled in, low and steady. "Amina, I've cleaned up the transmission. You need to hear this." The bridge went quiet. The sound came through the speakers, faint, distorted, but unmistakably human. "Terran, expedition, trapped. If anyone can hear, do not trust the Council." Every word froze the room. Raj's face drained of color. That's from the ARC program. That project was abandoned before I was born. Those ships were lost." Amina's jaw tightened. The Council hadn't just lied. They had buried humanity's own history. Outside, the Council fleet shifted into firing positions. "Terran fleet," their lead ship demanded, "withdraw immediately. Final warning." But it was already too late. Amina knew what she had to do. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered. "We're going through the rift." Gasps broke across the bridge, but no one argued, not now. The crews on every ship had followed her this far. They would follow her into the unknown. The alien drones suddenly moved. Instead of attacking, they parted, forming a narrow corridor leading straight into the rift, as if they were inviting them in. The Council saw it too. "Fire on that fleet," the Council commander barked over open comms. But before the Council ships could unleash a single shot, the drones turned, swift, precise, merciless, and opened fire. Beams of energy lanced out, tearing through the Council's front line like paper. The void lit up with burning wreckage. Raj stared in disbelief. They're protecting us." Amina didn't waste a second. "All ships, full thrust, follow the drones." The Terran fleet surged forward. Engines roared, and one by one, humanity's ships plunged into the rift. Inside, the universe changed. The light swallowed them whole, then shattered into a starfield unlike any they had ever seen. Colossal structures drifted in the void, massive stations and shipyards of alien design, but with unmistakable traces of human architecture fused into them. And in the center, a single ship floated, battered but intact, its hull marked with the faded insignia of old Earth, Arc Horizon. Leah's voice trembled with awe. "They're alive!" The comms burst to life again, this time clear, strong, and human. "This is Captain Elias Rains of the Arc Horizon. We've been waiting for you." Raj staggered back. Waiting? Before they could respond, more ships emerged from the shadow of the massive stations. Human ships, older, bulkier, but armed and functional. The lost fleet, forgotten by history, had built a refuge inside the rift, hidden from the Council for generations. Amina leaned forward, her voice steady but fierce. "This is Commander Zara of the Terran fleet. Earth is with you. We're taking our place beside you." The Council didn't follow. The drones sealed the rift behind the Terran ships, locking the galaxy out. For the first time since Exile, humanity wasn't running, wasn't begging for recognition. They stood among their own, those who had been left behind, those who had survived. But then Captain Rains's voice returned, grim and unshaken. "Commander, If you came through, then you need to. Against something far worse than the Council for 100 years. The stars around them seemed to dim, and in the distance something vast stirred in the darkness, an outline so large it blotted out constellations, moving closer. Amina's hand tightened on the rail. Humanity had found its lost empire, but now, staring into the dark, she understood the truth. The real war hadn't even begun. The massive silhouette in the darkness shifted, its sheer scale dwarfing even the largest of the alien stations. The Terran fleet held position, their hulls gleaming faintly against the strange starlight of the rift. No one spoke for a long moment. Even Amina Zahra, who had faced exile, betrayal, and the unrelenting pressure of command, felt the weight of what they had just uncovered pressing against her chest. On the main screen, Captain Elias Rains of the Lost Ark Horizon stood tall, his voice calm but steady. "You're not late," he said. "You came when you were ready. And now you have to understand what's at stake. That thing out there, it isn't a ship. It isn't even alive the way we understand it. It's a machine built to consume stars, and we've been holding it back with what little we had for a century." Raj Patel stepped closer, his hands clenched into fists. "You're telling us the Council knew about this? They let you fight it alone?" Rains nodded grimly. "The Council doesn't fight it. They hide from it. That's why they exiled you. They were afraid humanity wouldn't hide. They were right." The words cut through every doubt Amina had carried since the day Earth was cast out of the Galactic Council. Humanity wasn't weak. They weren't reckless. They were dangerous only because they refused to look away when others did. Leah Chen's voice came through the comms, quieter now, but full of something fierce. "So they erased us from their records because they knew we'd do exactly this." Amina met Rain's gaze on the screen. "Then you won't be alone anymore. Earth didn't build a fleet just to survive. We built it to fight." Around her, the crew of the Resolute Dawn straightened, every eye fixed on the image of the massive construct in the dark. They had been exiles, dismissed and underestimated, but now they stood in the place the Council had feared most, not at the edges of the galaxy, but at the threshold of its greatest secret. The lost fleet of the Ark Horizon merged with the Terran fleet. Their engineers boarded each other's ships, exchanging technology and experience born of 100 years of survival. Raj was already working alongside Ark engineers, muttering in disbelief at their hybrid designs. Ships built from both human ingenuity and salvaged alien technology, perfected in isolation. "They shouldn't even fly," Raj muttered, grinning despite himself. "And yet, they do. This is incredible." Meanwhile, Leah documented everything. Every ship, every transmission, every story told by the descendants of those who had vanished into the rift. Her broadcasts carried a single message back to Earth through secure channels. Humanity wasn't just a world anymore. They were something greater, an empire forged from defiance and bound by purpose. For the first time, hope didn't feel like rebellion. It felt inevitable. But even in that hope, no one forgot the looming shadow beyond the rift. The machine drifted at the edge of their sensors, silent and terrible, as if it were waiting for them to make the first move. Rains explained that it never fully approached, never crossed the boundary of the fortress the lost fleet had built. It only watched, as if studying them. "Why doesn't it attack?" Amina asked. Rains stared at the dark shape for a long moment. "Because it's not ready," he said. "But when it is, everything outside this rift will burn, unless we stop it first." Amina looked to her fleet, her people, her world's future. And in that moment, she knew Earth hadn't been exiled. They'd been given the only gift the galaxy didn't intend: time to become dangerous enough to matter.
Back on Earth, the first official message from the Rift stunned every government and every colony. Humanity had not only survived its exile, it had found its lost children and brought home the truth the Council had buried. The reaction wasn't fear, it was pride. Volunteers flooded into training programs, shipyards accelerated their construction schedules, and Earth's people, once fractured and cautious, now spoke with one voice. Raj stood with Amina in the observation deck of the Resolute Dawn, watching as new Terran ships arrived through the rift, joining their growing armada. "You know," he said, "the Council's probably losing their minds right now." Amina smiled faintly. Good, they should. Leah joined them, tablet in hand, her expression sharp with determination. "I just broadcasted a message across every human channel," she said. "Simple and clear. They exiled us. We built a fleet. Now we build an empire. Let the galaxy hear it." For a moment, no one spoke. The words hung there like a promise. Humanity had been underestimated for the last time. As the fleets of Earth and the Arc Horizon trained side by side, preparing for the inevitable, Amina stood at the heart of it all. The rift, once a mystery, was now their stronghold. The shadow beyond it wasn't just a threat. It was a reminder of what they had to become. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid of what lay ahead. Because this was what humanity did. When the galaxy closed its doors, they didn't fade into silence. They kicked them open. Raj looked out at the horizon of stars and smirked. "You know, Commander, for an exile, this doesn't feel like losing." Amina didn't look away from the dark shape beyond the rift, her voice calm and certain. "No," she said, "this is only the beginning." And in the deep silence of space, surrounded by the hum of engines and the steady beat of human defiance, the Terran fleet prepared for what came next. The shadow would come. The Council would try to stop them. The galaxy would finally see what humanity was capable of. Exiled from the Council, Earth had built not just a fleet, they had built an empire. And this time, nothing would erase their name.